Good morning. I am Miss Woodard, and this is third grade Maplewood. And today we are going to be learning about rocks with Mr. Crosslin.
Hi. So today we're going to talk about rocks and minerals, and we're really going to talk about what is the difference between a rock and a mineral. And I actually have a really cool rock right here. This rock is, it's big and it is filled with all kinds of minerals. In fact, this actually came from a mountain out in Colorado. This is a rock. So what is a rock? Let's take a look in our books to see if we know what a rock is.
Rocks are everywhere on Earth. Rocks is natural, solid, non-living material made of one mineral or a combination of minerals.
Did you hear that? A rock is a non-living, natural substance on the surface of the Earth made of one mineral or a combination of minerals. Let's go ahead and use our science journals and let's write the definition of what a rock is. You can use your books. So that's what a rock is, and there's rocks everywhere. In fact, this rock has a mineral called quartz in it. When I pass this around, you see all this shiny stuff right here, quartz? So this is a rock because it's a mix. And this is my quartz staff. And so a friend made this. This is one piece of quartz. That's a quartz crystal. So this is a mineral because it's all by itself. It's a special type. And this is a rock because it has this in it. So I'll let you take a look at both of these, a rock and a mineral. A rock is made of minerals. So today, you're a special kind of scientist. Since we're studying the earth and rocks and minerals, today you are a geologist. Everybody say, I am a geologist.
I am a geologist.
Let's go ahead and write this right below there, right? Geologist. 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 Does anybody know what a geologist studies? Yes.
The life of Earth and rocks.
Life of Earth and rocks and minerals. Excellent. So go ahead and write this. I am a geologist. I study rocks. And you want to say minerals too? I study rocks and minerals. Go ahead and write that for us. Before we get into how rocks are made, I want you to know this is kind of like a fourth grade idea in science. Is it a fifth grade? Is it okay if you learn that even though you're in the third grade? You want to learn something cool? Yes? This is kind of interesting. Rocks move. Rocks move. Yes. A rock can be here, and you can come back in a day or a month or a year, and that rock may be over here. And so the question is, sometimes it just doesn't disappear, but rocks move not by themselves. They don't get up because they're not living, right? They don't get up and crawl away. But a rock will move. And sometimes it's here, but then it gets piled up over here. It might be up on a hill, and it's at the bottom of the hill. It might be by a beach, and it's out in the water. What are the three forces that could move a rock? What do you think? Three forces that could move a rock. What's one? Yes. What could make a rock move? Anybody? Yes. Yeah. Wind. We have a lot of wind today. It can blow dust. It can blow small rocks. What's another big force? Yes. Yes.
Rain.
Water. Yeah, water is a big one. Whenever there's water, it can move a rock. And finally, the last one that happened a long time ago in Indiana, a giant as big as the city, very cold. It came down and it was made of what?
Rock.
Ice. Ice. Ice is the last one. A glacier can move a rock. Those are the three forces that can move a rock. Wind, water, and ice. So how can wind move earth rocks?
Because it will will blow it.
Like what will it blow?
Like sand.
Sand in a sand dune. Excellent. So how can water move a rock?
Water can move a rock by washing it up
And where would it wash it down? In a
in a lake, river, or
maybe a creek?
creek.
Or maybe even the ocean. So we have wind and water. What about ice?
It can move a rock, and that's called a glacier.
Here's one more thing that you need to know about rocks. A big rock, one rock, okay, one rock, when it gets moved, it might break into how many rocks do you think?
100.
Well, it might break into maybe 3 rocks, right? And 3 big rocks with a lot of little pieces. So one might become 3. But then it's tumbled down the river or a glacier or wind, and those 3 might break down, and they keep breaking down, and this time it might be, go ahead and draw this. This time it might be 10. And guess what? Those 10 rocks might break down into 100. And there's a name for this. This is a word that you may want to know. When rocks break down, it's called weathering. When a rock breaks down from one to many, we call that weathering, and it makes sediments. So here's what I mean by that. See this rock right here? When I drop this rock, watch what happens. Ready? You see these little pieces that fell off right there? Check it out. Those are pieces of that rock that have just weathered, and they are now broken bits of rock. Okay, so the first type of rock we're going to talk about is one of my favorites. In fact, I wore this tie right here. Can you check out what's on this tie? What's on this tie? Dinosaurs, but there's something at the top. It is a volcano. You see the volcano? And I wore that this morning because we're going to talk about igneous rocks. Igneous rocks. And I want you to write this. Igneous means that rock is fire formed. Fire formed. That means it is made from melted rock. And I'm going to probably put some fire coming up on this thing right here. Igneous rock means fire formed. Got that? So, I don't know how much you know about what the earth is, but let's draw a little picture. The earth is kind of like, if this part of the earth in the middle is called the core. And then we have this big part right here. There's another part of the core, but there's this big part here called the mantle. And then we live on what's called the crust. Have you guys ever heard of those words before, the crust? No. We live on the crust. I'll try to draw a picture. This is not the scale, but can you imagine a person right there living on the crust? But here's the part you need to know. This is so hot in here. This is so hot, it's melted. This is so hot, and this is so hot that we can't even go there. It's so hot. Things are melted rock. It's kind of like, how many people have ever helped their mom or dad make either like a cherry pie or your grandma a cherry pie, right? When you take that cherry pie out of the oven, you have a crust, right? You would never stick your finger in a cherry pie that came out of the oven. Why? It'll burn you. It's hot. Think of the earth like that, like a hot cherry pie out of the oven. We live on the crust, but if you go down, it's going to be hot, melted cherries. No, there's another name for it. Does anybody know what do we call that's really there's really hot melted rock that's under the earth? Does anybody know what it's called? Yes. Magma. Everybody, that's a great. So write the word on your drawing, write the word magma. Magma is melted rock underground. And sometimes it does this. Sometimes it starts to push up, and sometimes as it pushes up, it'll make a volcano. It will come up and it will erupt And soon as it comes, but here's the cool part, soon as it comes above the earth, we don't call it magma anymore. What does it do when it gets above the earth? It starts to do what? It's not hot anymore, as hot. What do you think it starts to do?
Noah, what do you think?
It cools down.
It cools. When it's above the earth, we call it lava. Lava is solid and it's cooled. And it comes from a volcano. So there's your volcano. And the lava is the stuff it's made out of. Got it? Okay, make your drawing. If lava comes up on the surface, it could be really, really hot, and it is, but then it cools and turns to a solid rock. In fact, I have a piece of lava rock right here. Can you see where the gas bubbles used to be in it? That's a piece of lava rock, and so is this. These are both lava rocks I'm going to pass around. So this used to be melted rock, lava rock. Now here, check this out. Sometimes, oh, this is so cool. Sometimes this magma right here starts to push up, but the magma doesn't go all the way up. And you know what it does? It makes a mountain like this. It makes a mountain, it cools and gets pushed up, and now we have another, just a mountain there, a mountain, and there's a new kind of rock that looks like this. This is granite. Granite, this used to be melted rock, and so did this. Here's another piece of granite. Check it out. And this rock was magma. It got pushed up, but it never came on the surface. It just stayed like in the oven, like that cherry pie. It stayed in the oven, and for millions of years, it cooled. The crystals got really big, and then it got real cold, and it turned solid into a rock. And this is what mountains are made of, granite. So, boys and girls, there are 4 rocks we're going to learn about that are, what's this word again? Igneous. We've already learned one. One is, we're going to call it lava rock. Go ahead. So one of them is lava rock. Okay? And then I just showed you another one, which is called granite. Everybody say granite. Granite. And now I got to show you a third one, which is, it's in your book. It's called obsidian. Can you everybody say that? Obsidian. Obsidian is like glass. Glass. And I have some right here. Here is a piece of obsidian. Check it out. Awesome. That's obsidian. And this is obsidian. And even this little rounded piece that got rounded probably in water is obsidian. So we have lava rock, we have granite, and we have obsidian. Okay, so I got one more that you will not believe. Check this out. Everybody write, this is my last one we're going to talk about. It's called, it's got a funny name, pumice. 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 Everybody say pumice. Pumice. Pumice is, it has air in it. That was magma that came up so quick. Here's a piece of pumice. In fact, here's a piece of pumice, but let me show you. It has air in it so quick that, watch what happens. Pumice, an igneous rock that floats. Who would ever think that a rock would float?
Oh my Lord. Because
this rock, it was like frothy chocolate bubbles. You ever seen chocolate bubbles on a hot cup?
Yeah.
Well, when the magma came up, it was filled with air, and then it cooled, and it floats. Pumice. Okay, so take a look at these. We have, who can show me pumice? Pumice. Where's the pumice at? Oh, and it's floating in the water there? Nice. And who can show me granite? We have one piece of granite that cooled. No, the granite cooled underneath the earth. Hold it up by the camera here. Let's see it. That's granite. It's pretty heavy. There's a small white piece of granite. Who can find the small white pieces of granite? Nice. Hold them up.
How many of them?
Yeah, and now, oh, look, there's a lot of pieces of granite. What about obsidian, volcanic glass? That's pretty cool. Put that up by the camera. Wow, put it by the camera.
Why?
Nice. Very cool. And these rocks are all called what kind of rocks? Say it again. Igneous rock. On the count of three, everybody say igneous rock.
Igneous rocks.
And they are fire formed. On the count of three, say igneous rocks are fire formed. One, two.
Rocks are fire formed.
Let's do it on three. One, two, three.
Igneous rocks are fire formed.
That's right. Very cool. Look at Haley, because Haley's drawings here have an amazing, it's got the core, the mantle, the crust, and how we have different mountains being made by either volcanoes or by granite. And her four rocks are lava, granite, obsidian, and pumice. Which is your favorite, Haley?
I like pumice.
Pumice. Yeah, I thought you might. Now, let me show you. This is you won't believe this when you learn this. This is so cool. So, the ocean, take a look at the ocean right here. The ocean in some places is really, really deep. There's the bottom of the sea, right? You understand that? This is kind of cool, I think. Has anybody ever been to Hawaii? Or seen it? No? I wish I would go to Hawaii. But have you seen Hawaii?
Yeah.
Hawaii is made of igneous rocks. In fact, Hawaii, and there's a bunch of these, Hawaii has giant volcanoes. And they go right to the sea, and people live.
It also has palm trees.
Oh, lots of palm trees, yeah, but lots of volcanoes. In fact, a bunch of volcanoes, some big, some small, and people live on them. And they're mountains, they're huge. But here's the thing that's going to really be amazing. These started by coming up with lava. Lava came up to make these, right? Did you know that? In fact, you can still go to Hawaii today, and sometimes the volcanoes erupt and it makes new land. But here's the part that is very interesting. Under the ocean, you may not know this, but the magma is way down here. The magma is way down here. And the magma starts sending up volcanoes. So underneath Hawaii, the part you don't see is that for millions of years, it was forming. And really, when you look at Hawaii, you're just seeing the very tip. You're just seeing the very tip of an underwater volcano.
Underwater volcano.
Can you imagine that? So when you see Hawaii like this right here, way underwater is a giant volcano where the magma came up and made that. It took millions of years. You know, sometimes the magma comes up underwater and it's so hot that the water gets hot and steam comes up and lots of steam comes up. But I think that's amazing that these islands, even though they look big, underwater, they're even bigger. Some of the largest mountains on the world are underwater. Who would have thought? All right, let's look at a different type of rock. Okay, we talked about igneous rocks, but rocks are made a different way. And these types of rocks are called sedimentary rocks. So on your new notes, write the word sedimentary rocks. And guess what word's in there? Sediment. Sediment. Sediments. So sedimentary rocks are made from sediments and usually water. And you know why I love sedimentary rocks? Because Indiana is famous for sedimentary rocks. Yes, we're famous. We have the best sedimentary rocks in the world, right under your feet. Underneath this classroom, underneath your school, deep down, we have layers. Layers of rock. Sedimentary rocks form layers. Look in your book. On page 185, you see some layers of rock. Those are sedimentary rocks. Rocks that form layers form from tiny bits of rock, sand, shells, and other materials. And over billions of years, these sedimentary rocks are formed. let me better explain this. In your book is a drawing, or is a photograph of some real layers. Let's make a drawing like this. I've seen this in Indiana, maybe you have. So what if you have like a road right here going through, and this road, and you see a road cut. Have you ever been anywhere in Indiana where you've seen layers like this, and a layer like that? Because when you're driving in your car, you might see a house up here, okay, and trees and people living up here, but there's these layers. Has anybody ever seen anything like that? On this side of the road, there's another layer. Here's another layer. Here's another layer. Here's a layer. And if you happen to stop in your car and get out, you might find a funny, like you might find these weird round rocks in this layer. Guess what? If you go across the road, you'll find those same rocks right here. Wonder why? Why would you find the same rocks on that layer and on the other side? Yes?
Because it's the same.
It's the same layer, but this part got cut out in the middle. Oh, what if on here we found some really cool bones, fossils, some fossils. They'd be found right here in the same layer. So we find, in sedimentary rocks, we find fossils many times, fossils. All right, so here's my question. Check this out. If you have a red layer here of red rock, where am I going to see that red rock? Tell me when to stop. Is it up here?
No.
Here? Here?
Yes.
Here?
No.
Here?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. If I have a rock that's a layer that's kind of brown, like right about here, where am I going to find that brown layer on the other side? Tell me when to stop.
Yes.
Stop. Okay. So you see how they're the same, right? On one side on the other road or the other? You see that? Oh, this is the hard part. Maybe you guys can help me with this. If this is layer, let's call this one A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Which layer do you think is the oldest?
G. G.
G? Why? You're right. Why is G the oldest?
Because it's at the bottom.
It's at the bottom. Which is the newest layer?
A.
A. So I'm going to say that A is new and G is the old. Go ahead and look at your book and let's label that on page 185. Take a look at Edith's drawing of the different layers, the new and the old. Edith, can you write on your book over here which layers are the new layers in this drawing? Oh, look, she's writing new and then draw an arrow to it at the top, right? And where would the old layers be, Edith?
Down here.
Way at the very bottom, right? So we write the word old. And so you guys can do this on your drawing also. New at the top, old at the bottom of sedimentary rocks. Go ahead and do that on your book. Okay, so let's look at 4 of my favorite sedimentary rocks, right? We learned 4 igneous rocks, which means fire formed. Now let's learn 4 sedimentary rocks that have to do with sediments and layers. My first one is what Indiana is famous for. And Ms. Woodard, you may want to show your students the website, Indiana Expeditions. I have a show called Underground Indiana because we went underground to look at limestone. Limestone. Limestone is right here. So my first rock is limestone. And the reason I love this rock is because buildings all over the world are made out of it. Do you know that in Washington, D.C., our capital, have you ever seen a monument that looks like this? It's really tall. You ever seen that?
I've seen that in real life.
You've seen it in real life? It's called the Washington Monument. And you know what it's made out of? Indiana limestone. I could take you to a hole in the ground down in southern Indiana where they cut the rock out of the ground, put it on trains, and took it to Washington, D.C. There's another building. It's called the Pentagon. It's a really big building, and it is made of Indiana limestone. There's another building called the Empire State Building in New York City, made with Indiana limestone. Limestone is so good because it is hard. It's weird. It's hard and it can be carved. And we make buildings out of it. Or we crush it. I have some limestone right here. We crush it and make gravel out of it. Your road is made out of crushed limestone. Your playground where you guys play on is made out of crushed limestone. So if it used to be limestone, it used to be in the ocean, and that means it has fossils in it. It has fossils in it. So limestone has really small, dead sea creatures. They're hard shells left over. Is that cool or is that gross? Cool. I think it's cool. Let's tell you, this next one is really cool. So limestone has really small skeletons, but there's even smaller skeletons. And this is a sedimentary rock. Can I get a volunteer to come up here? Come on up, young man. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is?
Look like chalk.
It looks like chalk. In fact, it is. Can I see your arm? This is chalk. Pull your sleeve up. Chalk is a sedimentary rock that we use. And look, now what I just did right there, I'm sorry, but there is like 1,000 dead sea creatures. Now you have your own living. That's okay. They won't hurt you. Oh, let's get them. Well, anyway, now you can take back chalk, dead skeleton sea creatures, a sedimentary rock. You all right with that? I write chalk.
That's what I'm doing.
Chalk, a sedimentary rock. And if you like that one, you're going to love the next one. Ready? Shale. Shale. S-H-A-L-E. Everybody say shale.
Shale.
Now, shale has a lot of fossils in it sometimes because this is weird. But shale used to be mudstone. It used to be mud. So if you find a piece of shale and you lick it, yep,
Ew.
tastes like mud.
Yeah.
Anybody want to try that?
No.
All right, we'll do the test later, but check out some of this shale. When you look at this shale, look at this piece of shale. What does it have in it? It has a fossil. It has a fossil in it. So shale, look at this shale right here. What do you see there? That's a fossil of a plant. And so the shale that you're going to see, shale, chalk, limestone, all made from sediments in water. But I'm saving one of my favorite for last. Okay, ready? Watch this. Write it. It's called sandstone. You love sandstone? I do too. Check this out. Here is sandstone, a piece of sandstone. What do you think sandstone is made from? Sand. And let me show you a little experiment to prove it.
These two pieces of stone are called sandstone. When you rub the two pieces of sandstone together, put your hand up under there, Cheyenne. Up under, up under. Look what we got. We got pieces of sand.
So here are two rocks rubbing together, making sediments. Very cool. Let's look at those faces now of the two rocks. Show them, open them up, and look.
My God.
So when sandstone weathers, what does sandstone make when it weathers? Sand. Very good.
Look at this one. I know you could touch them too.
So we've learned about igneous rock, which means fire formed, and we've learned about sedimentary rocks, which form in layers, often have fossils. The last one is metamorphic rocks. Say that word, metamorphic.
Metamorphic.
That means change, rocks that change. And they change by heat and pressure. That means if we heat them up and we squeeze them, if we heat them up and we squeeze them, we can change them. So I'm going to make a chart, and I want you to make the same chart, and we're going to talk about how rocks change to metamorphic. So metamorphic rocks are rocks that change. And so this is the old rock, and then this is the new metamorphic rock, okay? Let me show you what I mean. So this rock will change. So here, I'm going to give you 4 metamorphic rocks. Here's one. This is called slate. So I'm going to write the word slate right here, slate. That's a metamorphic rock. Okay? Here's one. It's called gneiss. Gneiss. That's a weird word. G-N-E-I-S-S. All right? One of my favorite is one called marble. Marble. M-A-R-B-L-E. And the last one looks like this, and that is quartzite. Q-U-A-R-T-Z-I-T-E. So these are 4 metamorphic rocks that I want you to be able to look at. But what were they before they were metamorphic? They were a different rock that got heated up and squeezed. Okay, so these are metamorphic rocks, slate, gneiss, marble, and quartzite, but they used to be a different type of rock. Shale, if it gets hot and pressed, turns into slate. Granite, an igneous rock, if it gets hot and pressure, it can turn into gneiss. Limestone, if it gets hot and squeezed, can turn into marble. And sandstone, if it gets hot and can be squeezed, can turn into quartzite. You see, rocks are always being broken down, they're always being moved, and they're always being changed. And it's a good thing, because we live on the crust, the surface of the earth, filled with rocks. And a rock is a solid, non-living, natural material made from one mineral or a combination of minerals. And today, since you're studying these, you guys are officially geologists.
Yay! A magnet! That's what it is, a magnet. Look at this.